So you are like,
So we are live.
সবার মোবাইল অফ করে রেখে দিন, আমি মাঝখানে ডিস্টার্ব করবো।
We are live and we are waiting for Vice Chancellor Tripura University to be live with us so that we can start our program within a few minutes. Meanwhile, those who have joined the live stream, humble announcement is there. That is, in the chat box, you are welcome to ask questions pertaining to the topic raised. And here we'll note down the questions and we'll try to take up as much questions and queries possible on our part, and we'll take them up to our resource persons. They'll answer the questions and we'll have a very nice discussion. Still we are waiting for VC sir to join with us. And one more thing, we'll provide the feedback link in the WhatsApp group after the or at the end of the program, so that all the participants can give the feedback. And accordingly we'll generate the certificate. We're trying to get a message from the VC's office. Just bear with us for a couple of minutes. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Just we had a message from VC's office, and he'll be joining us anytime soon. And meanwhile, we can start the program, today's program. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Abhijit Bhattacharya, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya. I am the anchor of today's program, and at the onset, I welcome you all on the one-day webinar on Insights of National Education Policy 2020. This webinar is organized by the Department of Education, Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya, Mohanpur, West Tripura. As you all know that NEP 2020 is already being introduced, and the stakeholders need to understand the intricacies and the salient features of the policy in a holistic way. This particular webinar, today's webinar, will not only be beneficial for the students, the teachers, and it will pave a new resurgent India. And through this policy, we wish to attain the Vishwaguru status which we once had. It gives me immense pleasure to announce you that we shall be hearing to the chief guest of national webinar, Professor Ganga Prasad Prasad, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Tripura University, and the guest of honor, Professor Dr. Anup Kumar De, head of the Department of English, Assam University, Difu campus. So let us start the program with the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem. The national anthem was presented by one of our students, Shweta Dev Roy. With this, I'd like to invite Dr. Haradon Shah, Associate Professor and Organizing Secretary of today's webinar, Department of Education, Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya, to give the welcome address.
Good evening to all of you and namaskar. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Mohanpur Mohanpur and as the organizing secretary of the online virtual webinar, I am pleased to extend my heartiest welcome and respect to our chief guest from keynote speaker, Professor Ganga Prasad Prasad, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Tripura University, Surjabodinagar, Vishalgarh. It is my immense pleasure to welcome Dr. Anup Kumar De, head of the Department of English, Assam University, Vivekananda Park, as a resource person for this webinar. Respected President, Dr. Nirmal Bhaskar, Principal in charge, Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya, Mohanpur, Tripura, convener, IQAC, Secretary Sudhir Verma, Associate Professor, Department of Geology of this college, distinguished participants, other faculty members, and my dear students of the college. As all of us are aware, the educational system in India has been facing a number of challenges in many dimensions, like financing, management, access, equity, and excellence, etc. These issues are of vital importance for the country, since education is the most powerful tool to build a knowledge-based society for the future. Therefore, maintaining standards of education at all levels has been and still remain becoming very irrelevant. We know that education is an instrument which makes significant contribution to economic development, youth power development, social progress, and also for strengthening democracy. It is indeed a very tough job to prepare such an enormous framework for the whole nation. Whole nation. Actually, the national education policy looks at the education spanning the formative years of a child's life as organic continuum that focuses not only on the need to improve cognitive skills, but also encourages to restore and redesign our system to promote the critical thinking ability. When we look back to the pre-historical times, it is to be found that India was an abode of the learned and the seekers of knowledge university, like universities like Nalanda, Takshashila, Vikramshila, Vallabhi commanded respect on the international level. The ancient education system produced great scholars like Charko, Shustra, Hyderabad, Vara, Mihira, Bhaskaracharya, Brahmagupta, Chanukya, Madhavi, Panini, Patanjali, Gautama, Shankardev, Maitri, and Gandhi. Our history is further enriched with thinkers, philosophers, astronomy, metallurgy, surgery, yoga, fine arts, mathematicians, science, and many more. However, owing to years of foreign rule and colonial rule that devastated the nation, one of the most affected area is undoubtedly the education sector. We know that after a gap of more than 3 decades, the third National Education Policy was launched on Wednesday, 29th July 2020. On the same day, the Union Cabinet approved the comprehensive policy framework that aims to revamp the country's education system and also to guide the development of education in our country. Union Ministers for Information and Broadcasting, Prakash Javadekar, and Human Resource Development, and Ramesh Pokhriyal made the announcement on the National Education Policy 2020. Earlier on, 1st of May 2020, Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Damodar Das Modi has reviewed the National Education Policy 2020, for which draft was prepared by a panel of experts led by former Indian Space Research Organization, that is ISRO Chief K. Kasturi Ranganji. The National Education Policy 2020 aims at making India a global knowledge superpower. Such an understanding makes the national education policy distinctly different from earlier educational activities. In the context of the overall educational scenario and status of education in our country, a daily needs has been felt in the new millennium to overcome both indigenous and global challenges through knowledge and educational resources that draws on past experiences and modern technological developments. It is expected that the National Education Policy 2020 would surely contribute towards conceiving and creating a more humane and equitable society. In the proposed National Education Policy, significant changes have been incorporated beginning from pre-primary to PhD level. The National Education Policy 2020 is the first educational policy of the 21st century, which aims to bring large-scale reforms in the country. It proposes a number of revisions of the existing educational system, especially in terms of structure, regulations, and governance. It would create a new system and will be the driving force to fulfill the inspirational goal of 21st century education, including sustainable development, goal 4, and India's traditions and value system. This is for the first time the national policymakers look at national policy on education from a perspective which is suitable to the Indian context and enabling us to meet our future needs. We observe that 21st century is dominated by information knowledge, driven by the global society and with changing times. For building a new India, we need transdisciplinary and cross-cultural perspectives to widen our intellectual framework for comprehension of nature and society. And this backdrop, the organizing committee members felt the very necessity to have a thorough understanding about the perspective as envisioned in the new education policy 2020. Today, we are really honored and privileged to have the opportunity to listen from two eminent educationalists academicians and resource persons like Professor Ganga Prasad Singh and Dr. Anup Kumar De. I hope that both of them will share their views and opinions on the most important topic, that is the National Education Policy 2020, and would enrich and enlighten us with their vast experiences and knowledge. I would like to express my thanks and gratitude to all the faculty members, academicians, research scholars, teachers, and other interested stakeholders of the society from Tripura and outside the state who are virtually connected with us through this platform, and invite all of them to please actively participate in the interaction session to make the webinar a grand success. Last but not the least, I believe that each and every aspect and facts of National Education Policy 2020 will be deliberated in this platform of the webinar. From the core of my heart, I once again welcome one and all. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor Shah, for the welcome address. Now, I would like to introduce Professor Sudipta Deborma, Department of Zoology and convener IQAC of our college, to introduce the theme of the webinar. Madam Deborma.
Good afternoon, or respectable keynote speaker of this webinar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Tripura University, Professor Ganga Prasad Singh, another resource person, Dr. Anup Kumar De, Department of English, Assam University, President of the webinar, Principal in charge of Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya, Dr. Nimal Bhadra, Organizing Secretary, Dr. Haradham Shah, members of organizing team, other faculty members, and distinguished participants, all distinguished participants, and my dear student of the college. Heartiest welcome to all on behalf of IQAC Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya Mohanpur. Education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. Universal high quality education is the best way forward for developing and maximizing our country's rich talents and resources for the good of the individual, the society, the country, and the world. India will have the highest population of young people in the world over the next decade, and our ability to provide high quality educational opportunities to them will determine the future of our country. Need for a policy was first felt in 1964 when Congress MP Siddheswar Prasad criticized the then government for lacking a vision and philosophy for education. The same year, a 17-member education commission headed by the then UDC chairperson D.S. Kothari was constituted a draft, a national and coordinated policy on education. Based on the suggestions of this commission, Parliament passed the first education policy in 1968, second in 1986 under the erstwhile Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi respectively. The National Education Policy of 1986 was revised in 1992 when P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. National Education Policy is a comprehensive framework to guide the development of education in the country. A new national education policy usually counts along every few decades. Third national education policy is in 2020 under the Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. This new national education policy 2020 is the education policy of 21st century and aims to address the many growing developmental imperatives of our country. This new policy, approved by the Union Cabinet of India on 29th July 2020, a goal of a national education policy is also to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education, including vocational education from 26.3% as of 2018 to 50% by 2035. By 2025, at least 50% of learners through the school and higher education system shall have exposure to vocational education. A new national education policy aims to facilitate an inclusive, participatory, and holistic approach which takes into consideration field experiences, empirical research, and stakeholders' feedback. It is a progressive shift towards a more scientific approach to education. The prescribed structure will help to cater the ability of the child, stages of cognitive development, as well as social and physical awareness. If implemented in its true vision, the new structure can bring India at par with the leading countries of the world. Thanks again.
Thank you, Professor Deborman. It gives me immense pleasure to invite chief guest and keynote speaker of today's national webinar, Professor Ganga Prasad Prasai, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tripura University. And before I hand over the session to Sir, I would like to introduce Professor Ganga Prasad Prasai to the August online gathering. Professor Prasai joined Tripura University as its Vice Chancellor on 18th August 2020. Before joining Tripura University, Dr. Prasad was working as a professor of commerce in Manipur Central University, Imphal. He did his MCom and PhD from the prestigious Banaras Hindu University. He has 30 years of teaching experience at PG level, and 12 years he has been serving as or served as professor in Manipur University. He specializes in entrepreneurship development and human resource management, marketing and tourism management. He has published 7 books, 67 research papers, out of which 8 were of international repute. He has also attended and presented 87 national and 8 international seminars and conferences in India and abroad. Professor Prasad has worked as head of the postgraduate department of commerce, Manipur University for 13 years. He has also been working as a coordinator of Indira Gandhi National Open University Manipur Study Center since 2004. He happened to be the honorary secretary of Indian Institute of Public Administration, Manipur Regional Branch since 2006. He has been a member of First Code of Manipur University and Sikkim University, apart from being a member of Academic Council and Student Board of Studies of Manipur University, Nagaland University, Mizoram University, and Assam University. He is also the Executive Council member of Rajiv Gandhi Central University, Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh, and Sikkim University, Gangtok. Professor Prasad is the chief editor of journal Kangliapek Business Review, a peer-reviewed journal published from the Department of Commerce, Manipur University since 1998. And this is listed in UGC websites also. He has conducted 18 seminars, workshops, training programs as coordinator, and he has He was sponsored by various funding agencies. He has been a chairperson of 6 conferences and seminars, has delivered lectures as resource person. 16 research scholars have been awarded PhD under his able supervision, and as of today, 8 more research scholars are also working under his guidance to earn PhD. He has guided more than 140 MCOM and MBA dissertations. He was selected as a Fellow of Indian Commerce Association FICA by Indian Commerce Association, New Delhi, 2010 and 2014. He has worked as an examiner and adjudicator of PhD theses of several universities like University of Delhi, University of Kolkata, Banaras Hindu University, Chaudhry Charan Singh University, University of Pune, Periyar University, Rajasthan University, Guru Nanak Dev University, Guwahati University, Assam University, Rajiv Gandhi University, Tripura University, Nagaland University, and Netaji Subhash Open University. He has been chief editor of Kangleitek Business Review, Manipur University, Imphal. He has been the member of the editorial board of Vanijya, Dibrugarh University, Referred Journal of Business Studies, Dibrugarh. He has been the member of the editorial board for Journal of Business and Finance, the Journal of Business Analysis and Innovations. He has been a member board of other universities also for MCOM and MBA like Guwahati University, Nagaland University, Assam University, Mizoram University, Dibrugarh University, North Bengal University, Tripura University, as well as Arunachal University. He has been a life member of Indian Commerce Association, Indian Institute of Public Administration, Northeast Indian Council of Social Service Research, Ceylon, Northeast Economic Association, Guwahati, Indian Accounting Association Research Foundation, Kolkata, Indian Accounting Association, Rajkot, Indian Tourism Congress, Gwalior, Northeast India Commerce and Management Association, Guwahati. With these few words, I would request, sir, to present your lecture. Sir, the session is all yours.
Thank you so much. In a short period of time, you could say so many things about you. I thank you. I may not deserve all the things. Honorable Principal of Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya, Mohanpur, West Tripura, organizer of this webinar, Dr. Haradhan Shah and Dr. Prashant Dev, coordinator of IQAC and associate professor of zoology, Mrs. Sudipta Devabarma, and all other members, faculty members, organizers, students, research scholars, and all other participants who are taking part in this webinar, whom I have not met. I convey my greetings from Tripura University, and I beg namaste to all of you. At the very outset, I'd like to thank the principal and other member of the organizing committee of this webinar on insight into new education policy 2020, which is also a very, very important document, for inviting me as a chief guest and keynote speaker of this very, very important topic of the day. Before I begin my address, I like to read two quotations given by our honorable late President of India, the great scientist of this country, Dr. APJ Kalam, and our honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji. I am reading a quotation from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. It reads like this: the purpose of education is to make good human beings with skill and expertise. Enlightened human beings can be created by teachers. Changes in the education policy is a major way to provide the nation better students, professionals, and better human beings, unquote. This was given by late Dr. APJ Kalam. Now, I will also like to read another quotation, another great ideas which has been told by our honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. I quote, The till date, we have been focusing on what to think in our education policy. In the new education policy, we are focusing on how to think. That means we have changed from what to think to how to think. There is an avalanche of information in this digital era, and thus we have tried to filter out what is not needed. How can our youth think critically and innovate unless we ensure a purpose in the education system? Unless they can be passionate. The present 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure, moving forward from 10 plus 2 structure, is a step in this direction. This was told by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji while announcing the new education policy 2020 on 29th of July 2020. Now, before I start talking about the different aspects of new education policy 2020, I like to say something on background of this new education policy. That means why our country need new education policy. This present education policy, which is still in existence, was started from 1984. That is more than 3 decades ago. Then what we have found in this present education policy is that in India there are many universities, many thousand colleges, both general colleges and technical colleges in a year. Lakhs of students completing their degree like BA, BSc, BCom, MA, MSc, MCom, BTech, MTech, and many other qualifications are coming out. That means every year many lakhs of graduate and postgraduate students are being coming out from universities and colleges, and they are not employable. Yes, sir. People are coming out from college, they are getting degrees, but degrees are not useful. They are being added in the existing unemployed people of this country. Therefore, since last many years, more than 3 decades, our policymakers, our planners, our educationalists, our administrator were thinking to change this education policy. So after a very, very long discussion, deliberation, after many, many sittings, and also after getting suggestion, advice from many lakhs of people, a new education policy was announced ultimately on the last day of July 2020 by the Union Cabinet of Government of India. Now, and also another important reason why we need this education policy is that as a professor of commerce, I consider education as an investment. We would like to get return on an investment. We study return on investment. If we have some surplus saving, if we have some money, we invest that money, our saving in bank and other different schemes to get some return. So I consider investment in education as a return. We are parents, guardian, our mothers, our father, our brother and sister, and we ourselves have invested huge amount of money for educating our children. Have we ever accounted, mention any record of investment in education? Say, for example, we send our student, our daughter from class A, and every month, every day almost, we spend some money for their admission, buying books, buying uniform, for their transportation, examination, etc., etc. So have we, as a parents, as a guardian, ever recorded the amount of money we have invested for educating our children from nursery, from class A up to graduation or post graduation, whatever it may be? I think none of us, even including myself, have record or any account. We don't have any account. We don't know how much money we have spent, but we know that we have spent lakhs of rupees for educating our children. Even if some of us who have sent our sons and daughter to private institution might have invested even crores of rupees also. Now, what about the return? We do not know return. Return is there, but rate of return is very, very low. In some cases, there is zero return. Suppose we have invested few lakhs for educating our son and our daughter, and later on, if he or she become unemployable, if he could not earn anything, if he has become unemployed, then we will say our return is zero. We have invested, but there is no return. In other cases, where we have invested, we have educated our son, our daughter, our brother, and our sister, in later on, if they get employment or if they themselves start some industry, then we will say yes, we are getting return on our investment of money which we have invested for educating them. So, but in majority of the cases, the return on investment in education sector, that means the investment which we have made for educating our children is zero. Therefore, our policymaker, our planner, our politician, our social worker, our educationist have spent many days, months, and years together to find out a policy which will ultimately help them in making employable or making them self-employed. Therefore, this education policy I consider as one of the best education policy so far India has announced after independence. And I would also like to say that this is the latest, biggest, so far best policy of education for this 21st century. Now, let us analyze the special features of this education policy. First of all, the main feature which is making us very simple, very easy is that if we are able to introduce this present education policy, then we shall be able to teach our children in our mother tongue from class A to class 5. In the existing education policy, in many places, English was compulsory. Say, for example, there are some states like where there is no major language. For example, in Northeast also there are places where there are states like Nagaland, there are Meghalaya, Mizoram, Arunachal Pradesh, even Manipur also. That in the beginning, when we admit our small children in schools, then their education is started in English medium. The first lesson, the first thing which is being taught in the existing education policy in their English language, which is a foreign language. Therefore, it is very difficult to understand, make them understand in English. But the present education policy has very clearly mentioned that if we are able to implement this new education policy 2020, we have to teach our children in mother tongue up to class 5, which will make them very easy to understand. They will enjoy, they will be motivated, and whatever we teach in their early stage, they will easily understand and they will grow properly in terms of knowledge and in terms of knowledge and understanding. This is what we are getting, we are understanding in the new education policy. And in present time, there are some Anganwadi center. If new education policy is fully implemented, then this Anganwadi center will be merged with these primary schools. And also, in present day system, midday meal is provided in all the government schools. If we fully implement this new education policy, then midday meal, even breakfast and nutritious food will be given to all the children up to high school. This has been very clearly mentioned in the new education policy. Then from class 6 onwards, in high school stages, one along with other subjects like say Bengali, then science, geography, history, uh, one skill paper will be also taught compulsorily. And what will be that skill paper? That skill paper will be as per the interest, desire of that very particular student. They will not impose a paper, a subject which is not understandable, which is not like, or which is against the student, against the interest of the student. They will be taught that skill paper only, which is of his or her interest. Then automatically in class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if we compulsorily teach that skill paper along with other paper, skill paper plus other paper also, which will make student very, very interesting. And later on, when he complete his education, he will be he will be able to start his own venture. The motive of teaching one paper, which is skill paper, compulsorily from class 6 onwards in new education policy 2020 is to make the particular student uh, uh, confirm interested in one of the skill which he can work later on. If he devote his time, energy, money, interest in that very skill, then later on after completing his education, he did not go for searching a job. We all know that job market is highly limited in this country, India, in foreign countries also. But if he or she has one knowledge of skill, then he will be starting earning himself or herself. He need not depend on job. He will become an entrepreneur, maybe small scale, but later on slowly from a small scale, a trader or entrepreneur, he may go for large scale and he may become self-employed. Later on, he will be job giver and not job seeker. Therefore, the purpose of teaching one paper, as I have mentioned, skill paper to student from high school onwards is to make our student, our future student, job provider and not job seekers after they complete their education. Education may be class 10, class 12, BA or MA, whatever. Then once they complete 10 plus 2, even after 10 also, in the present education system, a student has to go for arts, science, commerce. If he study arts only, then he may not find any paper in commerce or he will not be allowed. If somebody is admitted in class 11, 12 science in existing system of education, then he cannot learn. He is not be allowed to take a paper of arts or commerce discipline. But if this new education policy 2020 is fully implemented, then a student will be allowed to take a paper from other discipline also. If he or she study say science, physics, chemistry, then he can also study Bengali or history also. If he's taken admission in arts stream, then along with say history and Bengali, he can also study life science or botany or chemistry or statistical mathematics, which is a paper of his interest. If he takes a commerce in 11, 12, then he can also study one paper of language or literature, history, geography, whatever, as per his area or interest. So there is flexibility of choosing subject in the present days in the new education policy 2020. It is flexible in nature. It is very clearly mentioned. Although we have not seen the syllabus, it will take some time. Once the course curriculum will be prepared, we will be able to know how much flexible is it. But as per their writing, I am sure that a student will be allowed to choose a paper from other discipline apart from his major or core discipline. Then once after class 12, if a student is admitted in BA first year, then in this 2020 education policy, the duration of graduation BA, BSc, BCom will be 4 years. If a student complete first year BA from one college, then he can go for second year in other college also. Suppose a student of Tripura who is who is studying in Kolkata, uh, has passed only BA first year from a college under Kolkata University, he can get a certificate from Kolkata and he can come to Agartala and he can directly get admission in second year BA and he can complete third year BA. Again, if he has to go from say Agartala to Dharmanagar because of various problems, then he can study BA third year in Dharmanagar College also. Due to certain reason, if he leave the college, leave the study after BA first year, then he will get a certificate. If he can continue up to BA second year, then he will get a diploma. Then somehow if he can complete BA third year, then he will get BA degree. And since it will be a 4-year degree course, then if he can go for 4 years, then later on, if he want to do MA, he has to do only 1 year MA. After 4 years of completion of BA, BSc, BCom, the student can do 1 year MA. So as per new education policy 2020, the duration of graduation will be 4 years and master degree will be for only 1 year. Again, master degree will be necessary, compulsory for those who want to become a teacher in colleges and university or who want to go for higher education like research degree, PhD degree. For them only, MA will be necessary. Otherwise, 4-year degree course will be enough for doing any type of job and also for appearing in any type of competitive exam in Indian standard as per the new education policy. And in the present education policy, MPhil degree is also being taught in many universities, but there will be no MPhil degree. Only after MA, student can directly get admission in PhD degree once this NEP 2020 is fully implemented. Then another very important feature of this new education policy is that government will be allowing the establishment of the campus of foreign universities in India. Our our government will allow foreign universities to establish their campus in India. But those foreign universities will be those universities who are within 100 rank of world university. They must be good university, must be included within 100. Then only they can come if they wish to start their university campus in India. And the benefit of inviting foreign university is that there will be competition, because those foreign university who will be coming to India will be teaching their course, their syllabus, their course curriculum to our Indian student. And ultimately, Indian student need not go to abroad for higher study. As per a study at present, nearly 8 lakh students of India go to abroad, mainly Canada, Australia, USA, Germany, UK, and many other countries for higher education. But once we allow foreign university to come to India, then our students need not go there. At present, we are sending many thousand crores of rupees to foreign countries for educating our students. Once we allow this system, then our money will remain within India. It will help in growth and development of Indian education system. Apart from this, if this policy is fully implemented, then Indian universities can also start their campus in foreign countries. Those universities of India who are in high rank, good rank, if they wish, the government will give them permission for establishing of their campus outside India also. This will help in making our education international. We can teach our subject like history, geography, our culture, our religion, our language to foreign countries also. Then people of different countries will understand our system, our ancient system, our culture, our religion, our course curriculum, our geography, our history, and will become more popular and popular. And in course of time, many students may like to visit, may like to come to India for their higher education. Therefore, the policy of inviting foreign university to India and also allowing Indian university to start their campus in abroad will be internationalization of our education system, which will ultimately make our education system more popular in foreign countries also. Then another very important feature of new education policy 2020 is that admission in universities will be done through common admission test, and this will be done by National Testing Agency. We all know that at present also National Testing Agency conduct examination for admission in various college and university. Recently also this National Testing Agency has conducted UGC JRF NET examination for doing PhD. So there will be common admission tests, which will be conducted by National Testing Agency for admission of our students in various colleges and universities in India once we fully implement the new education policy 2020. This will ultimately help in improving the standard of education of this country. Like NEET, this once this system is fully implemented, then those students who score very high marks may get admission as per their choice. If our student want to study in other universities of different places, according to their rank, they will be allowed to choose the university and subject as per their ranking. So maybe after 3 to 4 years, we at a university level may not conduct entrance tests. The common entrance test, which will be conducted by one agency at national level, will be applicable to all the universities and particularly central universities of India. Then another feature which is being found in new education policy 2020 is that there is a provision of national book promotion policy which will be very helpful for students across geographies, language levels and generation. That means there will be a national book promotion everywhere at district level or at state level or even at a subdivision level, at university level, there will be book bank where student can access any types of book anytime. Though it may take time because implementation will certainly take some time, but once we can able to have this book bank, then our student need not buy any book. They can borrow from this book bank and they can study these books. Then another feature is that there will be provision for teaching and learning Sanskriti. We all know that our history is distorted. Many things which happen in our countries in the past, maybe before this foreign came, before this Britisher came, many things happened, and some historians are telling that the real things has not been recorded properly. So once we start the study of Sanskrit, then our ancient literature, our ancient culture, our ancient religion, which were being taught in the University of Nalanda and Takshashila during 500 BC, will be again revived. We understand from the history that these two universities, which were located in Takshashila and Nalanda, were world famous university during ancient time. And scholars from many countries used to come to India and they earn knowledge. But in course of time, when many things happened, when foreigners invaded this country, these universities were disturbed, destroyed, and we could not get the knowledge which were taught to them. But now, government is reviving those ancient universities, and once this policy is fully implemented, then Sanskrit will be also taught. And once Sanskrit is fully implemented, then in that those papers we shall be able to learn our ancient culture, history, which were in practice during 500 BC, 500 year of before Christ. And again, the present education system, which are not having any Bal Bhavan system, will be having Bal Bhavan, which will be a special day care boarding. In every locality, there will be a special day care boarding school, which are mainly established for the motivating our young mind. So once this Bal Bhavan will be established in every locality, then our young student, they will certainly have more time, and there they will be taught about Samajik Chetana Kendra. Means they will be made aware of the things which are happening around the globe, so that they become very sharp and knowledgeable from the early stage of their education. So this Bal Bhavan, establishment of Bal Bhavan and Samajik Chetana Kendra, if implemented properly, will be will be certainly a very, very revolutionary change in the education system, which we may see after some years. Then, according to new education policy, government will be also planning to store academic credit. Academic credit means suppose one student complete only one or two credit from one university, and if he goes to another places, then same credit he will take, and with that he can go further. His credit, his marks, the and subject which are being taught by the student will be stored in a online basis through academic credit. So anywhere, anytime, anybody can access his credential. In the present system, if somebody pass BA, MA from Tripura University, and if he goes out Tripura for some job, and later on, if his marks is verified, then the concerned employer has to send a letter to the University of Tripura, and they will check whether the student has passed his degree from here or not. But once we are able to establish this digitally stored academic credit, then it will be very easy to assess his qualification, his certificate, his degree, etc., etc. And another very, very important feature which we shall be getting in new education policy, that in the present system, when a student passes his degree or diploma, then his name, then subject, name of the subject, full marks and pass marks, and marks secure. Name of the candidate will be there on the top, below name of the degree, below that say paper, say history paper, or for example, full marks 100, pass marks 35, marks acquired by student 65 total. Only these things are provided in the mark sheet. In certificate, we provide so Mr. So and so, sons and daughter of so and so has passed this degree, securing first class or second class. But if we implement this new education policy, then we shall write detail, write his name, address, subject, his area of interest, his enthusiasm, how he participate in student life, in school and college, where he study. So all those things will be fully mentioned in his mark sheet and certificate, which will be self-explanatory. And when he will apply for job in any university outside state, outside country, then without asking to the university where he or she has studied, they will certainly know about the activity of the student during his student life, and this will help him in getting better opportunity later on. Then another very, very important feature of new education policy is that in the present system, colleges are affiliated to universities. But once we implement this new education policy, then slowly, slowly, colleges will be made autonomous. By autonomous, we mean colleges will be given power to frame their own course, own syllabus, own subject. They will be also given full power to conduct exam themselves, declare result themselves. They need not depend to university for examination. They can have their own academic calendar, own time for declaration of result and everything. This is called autonomous college. So college will be given full autonomy, and by another after another 10 or 15 years, all the colleges in India shall become autonomous college. But for becoming autonomous college, colleges must have infrastructure, good infrastructure. Teachers, there should be sufficient teacher. They should be able to prepare syllabus themselves. They should be able to conduct exam themselves, and they shall be able to evaluate the answer script and declare result. Later on, only they may put the name of the universities only. But all activities, all academic activity, starting from framing of post curriculum, taking classes, conducting examination, and declaration of result, and also issuing of mark sheet and certificate will be done by colleges only, which is known as autonomous college. Though it may take time, but this is the plan of the new education policy. Therefore, college should be self-sufficient. Those colleges where infrastructure is very poor, where teachers are very less, where UGC qualified teacher, where teachers having qualification as per the UC guidelines are not there, then it will be difficult to survive for those colleges. Therefore, from now onwards itself, colleges have to be strengthened. Colleges must have sufficient classroom, hostels. They must have sufficient number of teachers, qualified teachers, who will be able to take these duties for implementation of new education policy. And by another 15 years, after another 15 years, there may not be any affiliated college as per the new education policy. This is mentioned, but let us see how it will be implemented. Then another important areas which we have seen in the new education policy is the B.Ed course will be of 4-year duration. In the present system, the student can do B.Ed after BA or MA. It is only 2 years degree course. Before 3-4 years, B.Ed was only 1 year. Now it will be 2 years. But later on, when we will start new education policy fully, then B.Ed degree will be of 4-year duration. And another a very important feature is that only composite colleges can start teaching B.Ed courses. At present, there are separate colleges like College of Education or College of Teacher Education where only B.Ed course are being taught. But once we start implementing this NEP 2020, then only composite college can start B.Ed or 4-year degree course. By composite college, we understand those colleges where BA, BSc, BCom are taught, where the subject like history, economics, geography, physics, chemistry are being taught. They are known as composite college because along with the paper of B.Ed, a student has to learn other paper like history, geography, Bangala, English, Hindi, etc., so that they may become good teacher later on. Because purpose of B.Ed is to train teacher who will later on become teacher in primary school, high school, and higher secondary school, and ultimately they will be able to produce better human beings. So if we need better human beings, then they must be taught by the better trained human beings. So this B.Ed teacher will be the trained human beings. So there will be lot of changes in this course curriculum also. Then another very important feature of our new education policy is that students are free to take admission and anytime they can go, as I have already mentioned. But apart from this, there will be extracurricular activities also in large scale, so that they can enjoy, they can understand properly. And there will be also teacher and student exchange program. Will be given opportunity to collaborate with foreign universities also. Our university can sign MOU, that is a memorandum of understanding with foreign university also. There is a better chance for internationalization of our university also if we fully implement this new education policy. Then it is also mentioned that we can have National Education Technology Forum, which will be created to provide a platform for free exchange of ideas on the use of technology. So this National Education Technology Forum, if properly used, will help the teacher in knowing technology which is being established, which is being taught in foreign in other universities also. So these are some of the important features. Now, how to implement it? When? This is very important question for all of us. Who will prepare the course curriculum and syllabus? Okay, for high school up to class 12, there is a National Council for Education Research and Training, NCRT. Head office is located in Delhi and they have branches in all over India. I have heard that they have already started preparing the course curriculum for primary school and high school. They have already started. And it will take some time. And our government is trying to start implementation phase-wise from 2021 onwards. It is difficult to implement at one go at one time. we have to start implementing slowly and phase-wise. About college and universities, we have to prepare course curriculum at university level. But since there is a system of credit transfer, it is very clearly mentioned that a student who have studied, for example, BA first year in Delhi University can come to Tripura University for BA second year if he wishes. That means the subject or paper which are being taught in Delhi University in first year should not be taught in Tripura University in second year. Here also there should be same paper, because the student who have already passed BA first year from Delhi University will be coming to Tripura University to BA second year. Therefore, the paper should not be same in second year. That means the paper which will be taught in many university of India should be common. Then only the idea of credit transfer can be implemented fully. Same paper should not be repeated. Then only we will success in this credit transfer policy. Therefore, I very strongly propose that there should be a common national curriculum in all the universities in India with 20% local variation. What I mean by 20% local variation is that suppose if we teach our student in colleges and university in Tripura, then there must be a paper of history of Tripura, for example, or there must be a paper of Bangla, for example. So the paper of history, which may not be taught in Delhi University, may be taught in Tripura University. So with that variation, that is variation of 20%, 30%, but major part, major body of the syllabus should be common. Then only we shall be able to implement credit transfer policy. Otherwise, our idea of credit transfer policy may not be success in course of time. I understand that UGC has already prepared some syllabus, but we are allowed to modify it. And I have said again and again that as far as possible, the course curriculum and the syllabus which will be taught under new education policy 2020 in universities in India should be more or less same with 20% or 20 to 30% local variation. It will take some time. We, the teacher in schools, colleges, and university have to take some extra pain because we are habituated in teaching the existing course curriculum. Once we implement, once we shall implement this new course curriculum under new education policy in the beginning of the year, we need to do very hard labor because paper will be new, subject will be new. It may not be totally new, but the design, the methodology may be new. Some of the content will be also certainly new, and methods of teaching will be also new. Therefore, for first few years, we, the teacher, have to take some extra labor in implementing, in teaching in the beginning, but later on, after a few years, once we become habituated, then it will be easy for us to teach those papers in our colleges and university. So these are the features, so to say, the most important features which are there in new education policy. Once this policy are implemented, I believe that in years to come, maybe after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, our country, India, will produce better human resource. And this better human resource will certainly help in development of this great country, India. With these few lines, I would like to conclude my speech. Once again, I thank the principals and other faculty members of Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya, Mohanpur, West Tripura, for giving me this honors and opportunity to be here as a chief guest and also keynote speaker. I thank you very much. I wish to meet you physically soon in my university. Till then, goodbye. Thank you. Jai Hind. मेरा 1 घंटा हो गया वाह थक गया Our issue. No sound. I am not hearing. I am not hearing. There is no sound. I am not hearing your voice. बंगाली में बोलो तो बोल दो ना.
Dr. Abhijit, audio is not coming.
Now
Your-
it is coming. Now only.
Your-
Earlier it was not there. Yeah.
अरे वो लोग का ही प्रॉब्लम है सर.
अच्छा फिर या नो साउंड. क्या है उनका प्रॉब्लम है.
Audio is
How do
not
you-
coming. Dr.
Yeah,
Abhijit,
now-
audio is not coming.
Now coming. लिखो तो ऑडियो इज नॉट कमिंग.
I think due to network problem, the audio is not coming. So should I continue? So on behalf of the organizer, because the organizers are good friend of mine, almost all of them are known to me. So to bail out them, let me express my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the Swami Vivekananda College, Mohanpur, to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Prasin, for his speech on National Education Policy 2020, because he touched upon almost all the important aspects of this new policy, which will definitely bring some positive changes in the education sector. And he has in his long speech, he has taken so much of pain of delivering a speech, and with that speech we can come to know various aspects of this national education policy. And for that reason, on behalf of Swami Vivekananda College, Mohanpur, we express our heartfelt gratitude to our Vice Chancellor, sir, and we are looking forward to have this sort of programs in near future. So thank you so much, sir. Now, to continue my deliberation, because Professor Prasin, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir has already talked on almost all the important or key aspects of national education policy. So I may focus myself, I may limit myself to a very, very specific area, and that is regarding the how this new national education policy will create a very challenging kind of learning environment, and how it will create the support system for the students. So I'll specifically deal with this particular topic. But before that, let me also tell you that this policy will definitely bring some changes, and changes definitely will bring some changes, and those changes will obviously affect the large magnitude of population of the country, because this is a policy which is not somewhat different from other policies. Because we have, if you have industrial policy, it has its limited implication, means those who are associated with industry, they are affected by the industrial policy. So also is the case with other policy. But when we talk of education policy, its effect is maximum, means the majority section of the population of a country is directly influenced or affected or impacted by the education policy. So in that sense, this national education policy, which has come up after 34 years, because the last education policy was taken up in 1986, and there was a kind of revision in 1993, and after that there is a long gap, and this gap has created a kind of vacuum, because meanwhile we have crossed from one millennium to another millennium, and because of that thing, we found that the aspirations, the ambitions of the youths of the new millennium, that is the 21st century, these have certainly changes. These have certainly changed, and the new education policy is trying to address those growing aspirations of the 21st century youth. Now, when we talk of the goals of National Education Policy 2020, it was clearly stated, this some of the things were clearly stated in the Sustainable Development Goals of 2015, which the present government means the NDA government led by Bharatiya Janata Party, when it came into power in 2014. After that, after 1 year of its completion, it came out with the Sustainable Development Goals. And in that Sustainable Development Goals, it talks of ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by 2030. Now, this inclusive and equitable quality education, this was also stated in earlier education commissions as well as earlier education policies. But the setting of a goal, a year, that by 2030 we have to achieve those sustainable goals, and these goals were clearly stated, and that's why this national education policy of 2020, it aims at addressing these growing developmental imperatives of our country, and it aims at, or it talks of revamping and revising the existing education structure, including its regulation and governance, and to create a new system that is aligned with the aspirational goals of the 21st century education that I have mentioned. And it it would be based on India's traditions and value system. This is very important, because when we talk of the future, we cannot cut ourselves from the past. And this national education policy is a kind of bridge between our past and our future. The past, the glorious past, when India was once upon a time a nation of, you can say, nation which was a center where people from all across the globe used to come for acquiring knowledge. So it was a knowledge hub. But because of certain reasons, we lost that glory. So this national education policy talks of building a bridge between our past and the future. So this is very important, very pertinent. And the specific emphasis of National Education Policy 2020 is to develop the creative potential of each individual. Now that's why the policy talks of revamping and restructuring the education system from the pre-primary sector, pre-primary stage to the PhD stage, or means it encompasses all aspects of education. So it talks of developing a kind of creative potential of each individual. And this policy also talks of the development of cognitive capacities of the individual, to develop the creative critical and problem solving skill of the students. But at the same time, it also talks of making the students aware of the societal needs. The students should be aware of their role for the development of the society, and it will also develop their emotional capacities and dispositions. So this policy encompasses every aspect of individual development. Now coming to the effective learning. Now the most important thing that comes to our mind when we talk of effective learning, because this teaching learning process, this teaching learning system is the most important aspect of education. Now if this is not clearly stated, then we cannot achieve those goals which were mentioned in the Sustainable Development Goals of 2015, or the goals those who were stated in the National Education Policy 2020. Now what are the requirements? Now the requirement is a comprehensive approach that involves appropriate curriculum, engaging pedagogy. This is very important, that even if we have an appropriate curriculum, but if our pedagogy is not proper, then this curriculum becomes meaningless. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir was talking of the curriculum, that how individual universities and even the colleges, when they will attain the status of autonomy, they will be free to create their own curriculum based on their local needs, based on the local needs of the students. Now the question is, even if we have a good curriculum, but if we don't have a proper or an engaging pedagogy, it becomes fruitless. So our Vice Chancellor sir has already mentioned this particular point. I am just continuing what he has said. The third thing is continuous formative assessment. Now the previous type of assessment is somewhat very you can say it was a kind of burdened assessment type of thing, that a student he or she will read throughout the year, and at the end of the year he or she will sit for the assessment, for the examination. And in the process, what happens, he or she has to prepare a lot for the terminal examination. Now this has created a lot of problems. So in order to address that problem, the National Education Policy talks of continuous formative assessment, and the most important thing is adequate student support. because if we don't provide adequate student support, this curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment will be all fruitless. So the most important is to provide adequate student support. Now, the curriculum, it should be interesting and relevant. Now, we have the experience of teaching at the different levels of higher education. Some of us are teaching in the colleges, some of us are teaching in the universities. Now, what we find, and in schools also, now what we find that sometimes it happens that the same curriculum continues for more than 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And by this time, many things have changed, but there is no effort to change the curriculum to make it interesting and relevant. Now, this national education policy talks of revamping, restructuring this curriculum so that it should be interesting and relevant and updated regularly to align with the latest knowledge requirements and to meet specified learning outcomes. Now, the last point is important because sometimes the curriculum is made, pedagogy is also prepared, assessment system is also stated, is also there. But the problem is that there is no specified learning outcomes, mentioning of specified learning outcomes, that after getting that particular degree or a particular diploma or certificate program, the students will get this kind of skill so that he or she will be able to make himself available not only or capable himself or herself to sustain his livelihood, but also to give employment to others. What our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir has already mentioned, that it is expected that the students, when they will get a degree or a diploma, and that too with a skill-based course, then he or she would become an entrepreneur, and instead of a job seeker, he or she will be a job provider. Now, this specified learning outcome is very important, and this is stated in the National Education Policy 2020. Now, about pedagogy, high quality pedagogy is necessary to successfully impart the curriculum material to students, because curriculum is there, but that curriculum should reach the student. And how it will reach? It will reach through a high quality pedagogy, and it will determine these pedagogical practices will determine the learning experiences that are provided to the students, and thus indirectly influencing learning outcome. So this is very important. Pedagogy is very important. Assessment, that I have already told you, that it should be scientific, it should be designed to continuously improve learning and test the application of knowledge. Now, what happens till now, the assessment system, before the CBCS comes into the picture, CBCS tries to address some of these issues. But before that, we found a typical type of curriculum, a typical pedagogy, and the assessment system is also a typical one. The questions were asked and students were expected to answer those questions, and it was always the practice that leaving the previous year's questions, the questions that came in the earlier years, these were also repeated. So we find in the market we find suggestion books, notebooks, and students used to students are habituated to go to the crammers for getting notes, and they prepare notes and they sit for the assessment test. Now, this system, it doesn't develop the application skill of the learners. So this assessment would be formative kind of assessment, and it should be scientific, and it should test the application of knowledge of the students. Now, another very important thing which was not there in earlier education policies and education commissions, never specifically mentioned this particular aspect, although some kind of passing references are there. But this education policy, this National Education Policy 2020, has categorically mentioned about the wellness of the students, that if the learners, the students, they are not physically and mentally fit, then the entire effort will be wasted. So it talks of the physical fitness of the students, the mental well-being of the students, the psychosocial well-being. Means the students should have a kind of emotional capacities and disposition, along with his or her concern for the social well-being. So he should or she should be considered as part of the society, and he or she should be aware of his or her role in the development of the society. And along with that, the ethical grounding. This is also, ethical grounding is also very important, and only a high quality learning can talk of all these aspects of the learners. So curriculum, pedagogy, continuous assessment, and student support are the cornerstones of quality learning. If we talk of quality learning, these are the 4 vertical points that we need to address: curriculum, pedagogy, continuous assessment, and student support. Now, along with providing suitable resources and infrastructure, such as quality libraries, sir was talking of book bank, quality library, then classrooms, laboratories, technologies, and sir has also mentioned extracurricular and co-curricular activities. So sports, recreation, all these things were there. But at the same time, it should be an engaging one. The learning environment should be engaging. The students at no point of time, not only students, but the teachers, they at no point of time, they should feel disinterested in the process of teaching and learning. So this engaging environment, educational environment, is the prerequisite for successful implementation of a national education policy. And if we want to bring a good curriculum, and if we want to employ a high quality pedagogy, and through continuous formative assessment, by providing student support, if we want to create suitable graduates or teachers who will not be the job seekers but job givers, then we have to create engaging learning environments. Now, in the vision of NEP 2020, it is clearly mentioned, and I quote, "In order to promote creativity, institutions and faculty will have the autonomy to innovate on matters of curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment within a broad framework of higher education qualifications that ensures consistency across institutions and programs and across the ODL online traditional inline modes." Now, many things are stated in this single statement. Number one, the institutions and the faculties, they should have autonomy to build, to structure, to make their own curriculum, to decide their pedagogy, to decide the assessment system, and to give the student support. And in that way, they can also employ their innovative ideas. So institutions and faculty members, they would be given autonomy. But then it would not be arbitrary. that that each institution, higher education institution, will have a separate kind of thing, separate kind of curriculum, separate kind of pedagogy, and they will go in their own direction. What sir just a few minutes back has mentioned, the credit transfer, that one particular student studies in a particular education institution of higher education, if for some reasons he or she has to leave that place and come to another place, there should be the credit transfer facility so that he can resume his or her education from where he left in the previous institution. So in that way, there should be a kind of synergy, and it should ensure consistency across institutions and programs, including the ODL, open and distance learning, as well as online and traditional in-class modes. Now, curriculum and pedagogy would be designed by the institutions and motivated faculty to ensure a stimulating and engaging learning experience for all students, that I have already mentioned. This has also been mentioned. Continuous formative assessment would be there, and this has to be decided by higher education institution, and the higher education institution, when they will attain the status of autonomy, they will be empowered to give degrees, to give the final degrees. So they have to take care all these aspects. Choice-based credit system, I have already told you that it has come into existence, but there would be some kind of revision, because there are so many issues, so many shortcomings in the CBCS system. So the National Education Policy 2020 also talk of revising this credit-based, choice-based credit system, and in the process, it will instill innovation and flexibility. Now, higher education institutions shall move to a criterion-based grading system that assesses student achievement based on the learning goals for each program. Now, this is very important, because for each program, there should be specific learning outcomes. There should be specific learning goals, that if a student, he or she completes a particular degree, maybe B.Ed. Now, if he has B.Ed with social science as one of the method papers, now what would be the specific outcome of the degree? So it should be clearly mentioned, and in the credit card also, or the grading card also, it should be clearly mentioned. Not only the marks that, or the grade he has scored or she has scored, but in addition to that, it should be based on the specific learning goals, making the system fairer and outcomes more comparable. Higher education institutions shall also move away from high stakes examination towards more continuous and comprehensive evaluation, that I have already mentioned, that after 1 year a student was allowed to sit in the examination. When I did my graduation, first year and second year exam were taken together. So first year, after taking admission in BA, we had to study continuously for 2 years, and only after 2 years there was one examination, part 1 examination, and then for another 1 year, another 1 year there was part 2 examination. So this is something which is high stake examination, and in the process what happens, there are so many shortcomings. So in order to do away with these demerits, evils of high stake examination, there is the proposal for the continuous and comprehensive evaluation. Next important thing is National Education Policy talks of the institutional developmental plans, that each institution of higher education should have its own institutional development plan, IDP, and it should specifically mention that what it wants to achieve in the short run as well as in the long run. And there should be a planning for at least for 15 years in that development plan. Each higher education institution, it is not only for the sake of facing the National Assessment and Accreditation Council a peer visit, that a sort of vision and mission is stated. It's not like that. Rather, each institution should have institutional development plan, and in that plan it should be mentioned the goals that has to be achieved after 15 years and the method to achieve those goals. Now, how it is related to this institutional development plan is related in creating learning environments. This has to be also clearly stated. Now, it is clearly stated in the National Education Policy 2020 that each institution will integrate its academic plans ranging from curriculum improvement to quality of classroom transaction into its larger institutional plan. Now, the next important thing is student support. That we are talking of curriculum, we are talking of pedagogy, we are talking of assessment, we are talking of other aspects of education, but there is no student support system. So student support system is very important, and effective student support system is the backbone of teaching learning process. Now, it will be committed to holistic development of students that I have already mentioned, that psychosocial development, physical wellness, as well as his cognitive development. So all these holistic development of students should be taken care of, and each institution should be committed to that. And in the process, in order to achieve that thing, they should create a strong internal systems to support the diverse student cohorts. Students are coming from diverse background. It's not that if Swami college is located in a rural location like Mohanpur, so a particular type of student will come. It's not like that. Students come from different and diverse background. And if there is no room for adjustment, and if there is only a fixed kind of pedagogy, then it becomes very difficult to address the issues of these diverse class of students or diverse categories of students. So there should be adequate support system to address the problems, the academic as well as social issues, social problems of the students, and it should be outside the formal classroom interactions. It should not be limited to only to the classroom interaction, because each institution of higher education is committed to the all-round development of the students. So it should go beyond the formal interaction of the classroom. All higher education institutions will have mechanism and opportunities for funding of topic-centered clubs. These are some of the ways suggested, means suggested through which we can engage the students in the process. We can make the teaching learning process more engaging and interesting. That by way of establishing some clubs, dependent clubs based on disciplines and subjects, we can make the students more engaging. They should be, and in the process, the teachers, the faculties, they will also feel interest. And over time, means when these are at the initial phase, but then subsequently these can become the part of the curriculum. If we have engaging faculties, the quality faculties, then it can become part of the curriculum, and a separate pedagogy can also be developed, and in that way the student can also be engaged in more interesting manner. So the teachers not only have to be the teachers only by delivering lectures in the classrooms, but they should also become mentors and guides. Now, why this student support system is required? The most important reason for effective student support system, requirement of effective student support system is because there are socio-economically disadvantageous students, means coming from socio-economically disadvantaged sections of the society, and they require some kind of special treatment. Suppose a student coming from rural background and a student coming from a school of a urban background. Now there may be difference, and in the same classroom, the students who comes from socio-economically disadvantaged section, he or she should not feel himself or herself left out. So the pedagogy should be engaging for both the types of students, and in that way the higher education can proceed. And that's why the universities and colleges, they are required to set up high quality support centers. It is not, sir has already mentioned that in order to become autonomous institutions, there should be adequate infrastructure. That adequate infrastructure doesn't include only the classrooms and the library. It also includes other kind of facilities which are called student support mechanisms. For example, sports facility, for example, the facilities which should be there so that the students who have the inclination and aptitude for arts and music and other thing, he or she should get the opportunity to fulfill his or her aspirations. So it's a huge challenge for the institutions of higher education that by 2030, lot of things have to be done. And we are still talking of the unfavorable student-teacher ratio. My experience of teaching in Tripura for more than 7 years, I can tell that there is unfavorable student-teacher ratio in most of the colleges of Tripura. And this has to be addressed. And this national education policy talks of addressing this particular issue. And the state governments and the central government is expected to help the higher education institutions to meet these challenges. So this is very important. And there will be professional academic and career counseling available to all the students. Now, the role of the institution is not limited to only to give the curriculum, give a quality pedagogy, and through formative continuous assessment, the student is assessed and then he or she would be given the degree. It's not limited to that. It should go beyond that, that a student who comes out from your institution, you should also support him or her academically or professionally, so that he or she should get enough counseling so that he or she can find herself academically and professionally relevant. Otherwise, there would be increased number of you can say unemployed. So this is very important. I'm coming to the last part of my deliberation, that this is very pertinent in this context. The ODL system, open and distance learning system, and online education. So this is very pertinent, and it will help in generating. It will help in improving the GER, gross enrollment ratio, because this policy talks of reaching 50% GR at the higher education, at higher education. So if we want to achieve that goal, there should be ODL and online education, and it has to be restructured. ODL has to be restructured. So this is my these are my final words, and I have quoted it from National Education Policy Document 2020, that all programs, courses, curricula, and pedagogy across subjects, including those in class, online, and in ODL modes, as well as student support, will aim to achieve global standard of quality. So thank you so much. I express my gratitude to the principal of Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya Mohanpur, then Dr. Haradan Saha, the organizing secretary and my good friend, for providing me the opportunity to speak a few words on this occasion on a particular aspect of national education policy, and also to other faculty members, the coordinator of IQAC, then anchor Mr. Avijit, and other faculty members and non-teaching staff for organizing this webinar. And also my thanks goes to the participants for their patient hearings. We have already crossed time, but still they are there. So thanks to all. Thank you all.
Sir, are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for coming to our rescue. You saved our day. Actually, if, the area from which we are broadcasting, it's raining heavily. So the connection got lost and you chipped in and you helped us. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much from the core of my heart. Once again, I would like to extend my warm thanks. Sir, in the meantime, we have received a few questions. Shall we open the session for question and answers?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, sir. From Odisha, Professor Vivekananda Dash, he was asking fixed access to the universal. What is your opinion?
Okay. NEP, National Education Policy 2020, it talks of making Indian education at par with the global standard. Means in developed countries, the higher education is developed to such an extent that in states like USA or in Japan or in Germany, it is the GER is more than 60%. And most of the institutes which are impart in higher education, and the most developed institutes comes from these countries. Now this national education policy, it aims at achieving that kind of standard. So it cannot be done overnight, but the effort is there. And through a systematic design, through a systematic structure. So the most important structure that is brought here is 4 years degree program, because in most of the countries in Europe and also in America and in Australia also, the graduate program is of 4 years. So when our students with 3 years graduate program, they go there, they were asked to spend 1 extra year. So this change of 3 years degree program to 4 years degree program is a welcome change. This is number one. Number two, 4 years degree program is required only for those students who aspire for higher education, means beyond that, beyond graduation, means post graduation and beyond that. So this will definitely bring a kind of change, and it will help the students to achieve that particular point. And the transition from Indian higher educational institutions to institutions of higher education in other developed countries would be more smooth. And there is also the provision for establishment of campuses of first 100 ranked universities of the world in India, and also the reciprocal system that the high ranked universities and institutions of India will also establish their campuses in the developed countries and other countries. So in the process, there would be mutual transaction, and it will definitely help in making our education system at par with global standard. Thank you for the question.
Sir, there is another question. This question would love to hear from VC sir. The question was psychosocial development of students and how can it be managed?
Psychosocial development, you see, there may be some problem with students regarding this area, that is psychosocial, because in a college, a student belonging to different group, different caste, different community, different social background may come there. So they may not be uniform in understanding their knowledge. So we should have one, counselor in every college. New education policy has given more scope for widening our teacher, our faculty members. So to solve this problem, in a college we should a counselor who have a special qualification like clinical psychologist. Then this can be developed. But if we are able to provide a very, very congenial environment in the college, then students may not have this type of problem. To overcome this problem, we should provide a friendly teachers, student-friendly educational environment in a college, and also we need to have some counselor to pacify, to motivate, to encourage students if they are having this problem. But this may happen in rare cases only. I believe that if we continuously take care of student interest in teaching and learning, this problem may not come. If at all there is a problem, we shall take help from the counselor, psychologist, clinical psychologist, etc. Thank you.
Sir, with this one more question. This question is from Bapi Devnath. He is a student and he wants to know, sir, what about research in autonomous colleges? And sir, one more question he has added: who shall be the funding agency in those autonomous colleges?
Actually, regarding funding agency, there is no clear mention, but the present funding agency like government, and apart from this, UGC and MHRD, Ministry of Education, are giving emphasis and suggestion to have a self-earning. We should try to generate as much resource as possible, because in course of time, the funding may be, reduced also. So college must start some self-financing courses also. Maybe we will get, but the percentage of funding which we are getting at present may be reduced in future. Therefore, college should also try, university should also try to generate their revenue by adopting different courses, mainly self-financing, job-oriented vocational courses in course of time. So that is why in the beginning I told that we need to do some extra work. We need to design course curriculum in such a way that students are attracted. And as I mentioned that our students, we are going to make our students job giver and not job seeker. For that, we need to start many vocational courses. And once we fully start these courses, then in course of time, college may become self-sufficient also. This is what I would like to mention about this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And last question, sir. This question, I would like to give this question to Anup sir. Sir, another student has asked, what shall be the duration of the integrated courses? Maybe he is having a problem in understanding that phase in which you have described that thing. Maybe for the sake of his understanding, if you can elaborate it for one more time, sir. Duration of integrated course.
Okay. Now presently also there are different integrated courses that students after higher secondary, he or she can go for graduation and then post-graduation. So the present duration of graduation is 3 years and post-graduation is 2 years. So a integrated course after higher secondary till the post-graduation level is 5 years. But there are certain courses, for example, BSc B.Ed, BCom B.Ed, or BA B.Ed, that students after higher secondary, if he or she decides that I have to go for teaching profession, then he or she should go for this integrated program, and this is of 4 years duration. That after 4 years he or she should be graduated, and then he or she can go for the teaching profession. Now there are other integrated programs also, but when these all these things would be taken up, would be decided by the General Education Council. Now this is one of the verticals of the Higher Education Council of India. That would be the highest body, and under that highest body there are 4 verticals, and one vertical is General Education Council. So that General Education Council will decide the duration of different integrated programs, integrated degree programs. So in most probability, if it is BSc B.Ed or BCom B.Ed like courses, then it would be a 4 years duration. If it is low, then it may be 5 years duration. So it depends, because these are the professional programs, law or agriculture or medical. These are professional programs. So for that, the duration may be different from a general degree program. So all these things will be decided by the General Education Council. So it would be maybe after 2 years, everything would be synchronized, and only then we will have a proper understanding.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anup, sir. And thank you very much. My special thanks to VC, sir, also patiently. He has heard all of us. He has answered to the queries. With this, we are to the last stage of our today's program. And I would like to give the mic to our principal, sir, Dr. Nirmal Bhadro. He shall propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening. We are in the extreme parts of the national webinar insights of National Education Policy 2020. It gives me immense pleasure to convey the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizing committee of the seminar organizing by the Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya Mohanpur. We are really very much grateful with our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Ganga Prasad Prasin. We consider ourselves very lucky for his consent and join our seminar as chief guest and also keynote speaker of this webinar. And again, we are very much thankful and thank you, sir. We are also thankful to Professor Anup De. He was a part of this state in the education field of the state, but till day I realized that he's still again and also with us, and his activities of direction and everything to enjoy the seminar. I realized that one of our organizer is there as Anup, Professor Anup De. We are very much thankful, Anup sir, and very much thankful with the organizing secretary, Dr. Haradhan Shaha. We have here Professor Sudipta Deburma, Associate Professor, the convener of IQAC, Professor Abhijit Bhattacharjee, Professor Binarani Tripura, and whole team of Swami Vivekananda Mahavidyalaya, and the last, not in the least, all the participants, without whose help the webinar was not possible to success. And again, I hope that the pandemic situation is going on. One day we'll overcome this pandemic situation, and it's our great hope that Honorable VC sir, like today, he will physically came to our college in a seminar. It is our great hope that, and also Professor Anupde, you must visit our college, and we will be happy if we invite both of you in a seminar in our college. And again, thanks to all for enjoying this webinar. Namaskar. Shubharatri.
छोड़ो बंद कर एक और बाकी है
So with this we can leave, and meanwhile we have posted the feedback link in the YouTube as well as in the WhatsApp chat also. Please do not forget to fill the feedback form. Thank you very much. Good night. Shubharatri. Jai Hind.